What if I told you that one of the smallest states in America once had the power to decide the fate of the entire nation? This is the untold history of Delaware, a state so small you could drive across it in under 2 hours, yet so powerful it became the first to ratify the United States Constitution. But Delaware's story isn't just about being first. It's about rebellion, survival, secret freedom routes, forgotten battles, and a man who rode through the night to change history forever. Long before it was called Delaware, this land was home to the Lenape people, who fished its rivers and traveled through dense forests that stretched across the mid-Atlantic. Then came the Europeans, not the English first, as many assume, but the Dutch and the Swedes. In 1638, Swedish settlers established Fort Christina near present-day Wilmington under the colony of New Sweden. For a brief moment in time, part of modern America was actually Scandinavian. The Swedish influence didn't last long. The Dutch seized control in 1655, and later, the English took over in 1664. But that early clash of European powers shaped Delaware into a unique cultural crossroads. And here is something most people don't know. Delaware was once technically part of Pennsylvania. When King Charles II granted land to William Penn in 1682, Delaware became known as the Lower Counties on the Delaware. For years, it shared a governor with Pennsylvania. But tensions grew. The people of the lower counties wanted their own voice. In 1704, they were finally allowed to form their own assembly. That quiet step toward independence planted a seed of self-rule that would later define the state. Fast forward to the American Revolution. Delaware was divided. Loyalists and patriots lived side by side. The state was small, vulnerable, and caught between powerful British forces in Philadelphia and patriot strongholds to the south. Yet, out of this uncertainty rose one of the Revolution's most dramatic true stories. His name was Caesar Rodney. On July 1st, 1776, Delaware's delegates to the Continental Congress were split on whether to vote for independence. Thomas McKean supported it. George Reed opposed it. The decision hung in the balance. Rodney was 80 miles away in Dover, sick with asthma and facial cancer. But when he learned of the deadlock, he mounted his horse and rode through a violent thunderstorm all night long. Muddy roads, lightning in the sky, British patrols nearby. He arrived in Philadelphia the next day, exhausted, drenched, and just in time to cast the deciding vote for independence. Because of that ride, Delaware voted yes. And on December 7th, 1787, Delaware became the first state to ratify the U.S. Constitution, earning its permanent nickname, the First State. But the story doesn't end there. Delaware's geography made it a critical border state during the Civil War. It was technically a slave state, yet it never joined the Confederacy. Slavery remained legal in Delaware until the 13th Amendment in 1865. But the state had fewer enslaved people than its southern neighbors. What many don't realize is that Delaware was deeply involved in the Underground Railroad. Harriet Tubman herself passed through parts of Delaware while guiding enslaved people north to freedom. Towns like Camden and Wilmington became quiet pathways to liberty. Safe houses operated in secrecy, and ordinary citizens risked everything to hide fugitives from slave catchers. One powerful true story comes from Samuel Burris, a free black man from Delaware who helped enslaved people escape. In 1847, He was arrested and sentenced to be sold into slavery himself as punishment. Imagine that, a free man condemned to slavery for helping others find freedom. But abolitionists intervened. Disguised allies attended the auction and purchased Burris before he could be sent south. They freed him immediately. He later moved to Philadelphia and continued fighting for justice. His courage remains one of Delaware's most powerful, yet lesser-known stories. Then came industry. While many imagined Delaware as quiet farmland and beaches, the state became an industrial powerhouse in the 19th century thanks to one family, the DuPonts. In 1802, Eleuthère Irénée Dupont founded a gunpowder mill along the Brandywine River. That small operation grew into the DuPont Company, one of the largest chemical corporations in the world. DuPont supplied gunpowder during the War of 1812 and later became a key supplier during both world wars. The company didn't just shape industry, it shaped Delaware's economy, politics, and even its landscape. The DuPont family built grand estates like Nemours, influenced state leadership, and helped transform Wilmington into a financial and corporate hub. Today, Delaware is known as the corporate capital of America. More than 1 million businesses, including over half of all publicly traded U.S. companies, are incorporated there. Why? Because of Delaware's business-friendly laws and its unique Court of Chancery, which specializes in corporate cases without juries, providing fast and predictable rulings. A tiny state with enormous economic influence. But Delaware also carries deep military history. Fort Delaware, located on Pea Patch Island in the Delaware River, once held thousands of Confederate prisoners during the Civil War. Conditions were harsh. Disease spread quickly. Many never made it home. Today, the fort stands as a reminder of the war's human cost. And then there's something unexpected. During World War II, Delaware's coastline was part of America's coastal defense system. Concrete observation towers still stand along the beaches near Cape Henlopen. They were used to spot German U-boats lurking off the Atlantic coast. Imagine standing on those beaches, scanning the horizon, knowing enemy submarines might be watching from the darkness. From Swedish colonies to secret freedom routes, from a midnight ride that helped birth a nation, from slavery to corporate power, from hidden war defenses to global industry. Delaware's history is layered, complex, and far more dramatic than its size suggests. It may not have the towering skylines of New York or the political spotlight of Washington, D.C. But time and again, Delaware has stood at pivotal crossroads of American history, quietly influencing events far beyond its borders. And maybe that's what makes Delaware so fascinating. It doesn't shout. It doesn't boast. It simply moves first. The next time someone calls Delaware just a small state, remember this. When the future of a nation hung in the balance, a sick man rode through a storm, and a tiny state made the first move toward a new country. That's the untold story of Delaware. Small in size, massive in impact,